Good evening and welcome to the ordinary meeting of Council. Today is Monday the 24th of August at 6:30 p.m. Acknowledgement of country. Lithgow City Council acknowledges the Wiradjuri elders past and present of the Wiradjuri Nation, the original custodians of the land on which the Lithgow communities reside. The Council also extends our respects to our neighbouring nations. Declaration of webcasting. I inform all those in attendance at this meeting that the meeting is being webcast and that those in attendance should refrain from making any defamatory statement concerning any person, councillor or employee, and refrain from discussing those matters subject to closed council proceedings as indicated in clause 14.1 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Public attendance. In accordance with the mandatory requirements of the New South Wales Local Government Code of Meeting Practice, Clause 1520, members of the public attending a meeting of council, A, must refrain silent during the meeting unless invited by the chairperson to speak. B, must not bring flags, signs or protest symbols to the meeting. And C, must not disrupt the meeting. Council meeting emergency procedures. I'll hand over to Director Browning.
In the case of an emergency, please follow the emergency warden instructions, who will be identified by coloured helmets and fluorescent council vests. Wardens will determine if any evacuation is required in the appropriate exit path. In the event of a fire, do not use the lift. If you require personal assistance in an evacuation, please advise a warden. In the event of an evacuation, no one is to re-enter the building unless advised by the Chief Warden. The community in attendance in the public gallery are requested to scan the QR code to register your attendance.
Thank you, Director Browning. Do I have any apologies, councillors? Thank you, Councillor Tysus. Just for those at home, Councillor Elizabeth Fredericks is an apology. I'll have someone move that. So you're moving that way, Councillor Tysus? Thank you. Can I have a second? Councillor Statham. If there's no opposition to that, that's carried. Thank you. A declaration of interest. Do I have any, councillors? No? Excellent. Thank you. We'll move on to the first mayoral minute. I'll go back. I need to confirm the previous minutes. Can I please have someone move the previous minutes, please?
Yeah, I'll move that one.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Statham, thank you. If there is no opposition to those, I'll consider them carried. Thank you, councillors. We now move on to the first mayoral minute. Thank you. Now, the recommendation is that council write to the Honorary Chris Minns, Premier of New South Wales, in support of the Hartley District Progress Association, request to improve the standard of Hartley Vale Road as an all-weather surface road. Lithgow City Council, Blue Mountain City Council and Transport for New South Wales, as the funding provider, has worked together to complete heavy patching work on Hartley Vale Road. This has restored the road to a minimum condition. Traffic counts indicate a fourfold increase from approximately 200 vehicles per day to 800 vehicles per day. Hartley District Progress Association has written to the Premier, the Honourable Chris Minns, to inform the Premier of the deep effects of the closure of the Victorian Pass on the Hartley Valley community. The letter expressed the Association's greatest concern about Hartley Vale Road. This narrow road dates from 1826 and drops off the escarpment into the back of Hartley Valley, barely suitable for two-way traffic. This road is presently operating one way, westbound, for local residents only. It is attracting huge volumes of traffic and the road condition is rapidly deteriorating. In addition, the detour route is extremely vulnerable to both accidents and fire impact in the face of approaching fire season. The association call is for Hartley Vale Road to be brought up to a proper standard funded by the New South Wales Government. The association requests that Transport for New South Wales be instructed to provide full assistance and financial support to the two councils to bring the historic narrow road up to standard as an all-weather surface road. The work must be done as a matter of highest priority. I'll hand it over to the councillors for debate. Councillor Ring.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to it first, and I've got a couple of amendments. Significance of the Hartley Vale Road and the letter that was sent to the Premier by HDPA states, if we have a catastrophe of some kind on Chifley Road, Hartley Vale Road will become the only route for critical traffic movements between the east and the near central west. This relates to overall network resilience, and in my opinion, the most relevant point in the original letter, and should be focus of the letter to the Premier by Council. The Merrill Minute does not articulate who owns what portions of the road, which is clearly stated in the original letter. That is, 2/3 belongs to Blue Mountain City Council, 1/3 belongs to Lithgow. The ownership of the shared asset should be clearly spelled out in any letter to the Premier. The Merrill Minute asks for an upgrade funded by the New South Wales Government, but the letter by HDPA sent to the Premier asks that Transport be instructed to assist and financially support Council to do the work. This is an entirely different proposition, implying that Lithgow City Council would be the delivery agent for its third, inclusive of project management costs, procurement staff, resourcing, and potentially a contribution. It should also be noted that at the time the failure of Victoria passed, Blue Mountain Council were planning slope stabilisation works on their portion of the road. It has been deferred, but this will clearly have to be dealt with. We have to be careful in how we approach this request for support because our resources are already stretched. So I'm proposing the following amendments. That Council 1 write to the Honourable Chris Minns, Premier of New South Wales, in support of the Hartley District Progress Association's request to improve Hartley Vale Road to a Norweather sealed road. The letter should note that in the event of a major accident or closure of Chifley Road, Hartley Vale Road will become the only available route for critical traffic movements. 2. Advise that council support is provided on the basis that any upgrade be fully funded by the New South Wales Government, noting that the Hartley Vale Road is a shared asset with Blue Mountain City Council, and council is not in a position to make a financial contribution.
I'm happy to accept that.
Thank you. That's basically all of it. So I just think we have to be very careful how we approach this and ensure that we're not getting stuck with costs.
Happy to accept that. Understand where you're coming from. Is there any further debate on this matter? Okay, I'll put the Merrill Minute to you. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. We move on to the second one. The recommendation is that Council note the Transport for New South Wales has agreed to maintain the Great Western Highway median on an ongoing basis, as well as to preserve and protect the mature trees located on the median strip. At the 29th of June 2026 ordinary meeting, Council resolved that Council 1 return responsibility for the median strip of the Great Western Highway with the 70k zone of urban Lithgow precinct to Transport for New South Wales immediately. Formally request that Transport for New South Wales preserve the mature trees located on the median strip wherever possible. Endorse a public awareness campaign advocating for the preservation of the mature trees and encourage the wider community to lobby Transport for New South Wales and the Honourable Jenny Aitchison, MP Minister for Transport. Since the 29th of June 2026 meeting, I have taken the following action. 1. With the help of the Mayor's Executive Assistant, conducted research on 2008 resolution of Lithgow City Council regarding improvements to Lithgow Town Entry, as well as the subsequent adoption of Policy 1015, Nature Strip and Medium Strip Maintenance in 2009. I have liaised directly with Minister Aitchison's office to provide historical record that Lithgow City Council has never owned the median strip asset. Advocated to the Minister's office for point 1 and 2 to be accepted by Transport for New South Wales in full. On the 13th of August 2026, the General Manager received formal notification from Transport for New South Wales confirming revised terms, including that Transport would not only maintain the medium on an ongoing basis, but also preserve and protect the mature trees located on the median strip. This is a great outcome that has been achieved for the Lithgow community, which also saves the council at least $40,000 for every year going forward. I'll put the debate to the councillors.
I support it.
Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Statham?
Yes, Mayor Coleman, this has been an issue now for about, at least 6 years. Minister Aitchison, I think it is, and some gentlemen from Transport New South Wales came to Lithgow when Mr Butler was GM, and we had probably 4 meetings over a period of about a year concerning it needed new entrances, and there's Councillor Goodwin was keen to get some lighting in some of the areas as well. This has been something that there's a lot of money being spent on it, so you might be able to come in on the back of that and be able to get some of the money that we never ever got to use. Surely to goodness we could do something about that, so that you could probably, the money that they were going to use, where's that gone? I think they'd already spent 70,000. I could be wrong about that, but I think there was quite a bit of, there was quite a few staff came up, they went and looked at the areas. And I think, you know, if you look carefully, you might find where there's been a lot of information passed hands.
Thank you, Councillor Statham. Councillor Goodwin and then Councillor Money.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Coleman. It's a very good outcome for the town. It saves us $40,000 in council funds. Do we have a schedule at all, or do we know the schedule that they're going to adhere to? Is it once a year? Is it 3 times a year?
Director Smith, do you have a response to that? I know that you've been in negotiations with them.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Is the schedule that they're proposing, is it going to be once a year, or are they going to come 3 or 4 times a year to clean that area up, or they're just going to do it once and leave it?
My understanding is that they've said yes, but there's no schedule that's been discussed.
Okay, and my next quick question is to Director Browning or to the Mayor, through you, is the $40,000 that we're going to save, are we going to put that to some good use around the highway, or are we going to put that into operational funds for something else?
Director Browning, can you answer that, please?
Through Mayor Coleman, that'll go through the quarterly review process and be assigned based on priority.
Excellent, thank you.
Councillor Goodwin, in regards to the schedule, I will chase that up for you. We'll keep negotiating to see how often they do it. Councillor Marnie?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just mention one thing that's going to come up in a number of the items tonight is asset management planning. It's a dry subject, but a critical subject for good financial practice in local government. Somehow this asset, which we've never owned, managed to get into our asset management. That's a problem for me. And these asset management plans should have started being completed in 2016. Subsequently, the first asset management plan, and I'm not firing bullets at people, has arrived 10 years late in 2026 or 2025, which is the roads. That showed us the backlog and exposure we've had. So through tonight, there'll be a number of references. I'll notice the motion that got their roots around asset management plans. This is a state-owned asset. Never was ours, never should be ours, and never should use ratepayers to pay for the maintenance of it. I applaud the Mayor for her persistence with this issue, because as a general rule, Transport for New South Wales is reluctant to take on any new maintenance bills. We should never have this on our books. So I think that's a great outcome. The fact that we're saving $40,000, there are lots of spots in the budget that what is a relatively modest amount of money will go to very good use. So we've got options in council. We either increase the rates, which is about as popular as a rattlesnake in a lucky dip, or we look for income, or we look for savings. So this is an example of how we've dealt with savings. So I applaud your work there, Mayor. Also just want to note that we can chew gum and walk at the same time. I know there's a big ticket issue with Transport for New South Wales, which is the Darling Causeway and the closure of Mount Vic Pass. The other thing that was also a good outcome, it doesn't get visibility, but was also the flooding issue at Enfield Parade, the work that Transport for New South Wales in the rail division have done has decreased, not eliminated, but decreased the flooding risk. So that work that we've asked as a council group for you to take forward has come back to us, and they've completed that first stage. So lots of good things. We've got to keep working with Transport for New South Wales, but we've got to be focused on the big ticket items as well. But I just thank you for your work on that.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Tysus?
Thank you, Mayor. Could I just get some clarification? Because when I first saw the media release that was put out by Transport, my understanding was that this was in fact a 1 year process. And I'm not sure that, and from what was said on the bench there earlier, have we got a time? Have we got any years? Is it perpetuity, or is it? To me, we've got them over a barrel because of the road going at the moment, and they're happy to do it because there's hardly any traffic on the Great Western Highway. I'm just concerned that we need to lock them in, but I'm not seeing anything that's locked in other than a promise to do it literally once.
We've got them promised to ongoing, so forever and a day, and it's in writing.
And it's a promise. It's not signed or anything. It's not in writing.
Yes, it's in writing.
So what's the in writing say?
It's in writing from the Transport for New South Wales, saying that yes, they will take on the median strip ongoing.
Thank you.
Any further debate? I'll put the mayoral minute to you. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. We move on to by exception. I've got 2 items that we can move by exception, which is 3.1 and 3.2. Can I please have someone move those? That's 3.1, which is the Infrastructure Committee meeting minutes, and 3.2, which is the Local Transport Forum meeting minutes. So, Councillor Ring, you're happy to move those? Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Goodwin, you're happy to second them? If there's no opposition to that, I'll consider that carried. Thank you. We move on to 2.1, which is the renaming of the Bill Ashley Grandstand. Do I have any motions, councillors?
I'll move it.
You're moving something, Councillor Goodwin?
Yeah, I'll move the recommendation
As it stands?
as it stands at
Okay.
this point.
Do you have a seconder? Is there a seconder? Councillor Marnie, you're seconding that?
Yeah, and also some advice, Mayor. I'd like to move an amendment to it. So,
I've listened to the amendment, and I'm happy with the amendment.
Okay, so can you please?
yep, I'll ask that be brought up.
Yeah.
I'll just read it out. That just a change recommendation. The council note the summary of survey responses provided in the report. Number 2, council consider. Okay, thank you. Council, after considering community comments, endorsed the renaming of the grandstand at Tony Licchetti Sports Ground to Barry Rushworth Grandstand. The council endorsed the Civic Ballroom to be renamed the William Bill Ashley Civic Ballroom. And in keeping with proposals for renaming or naming this proposal of the Civic Ballroom be placed on public exhibition for a period of 28 days prior to the matter returning to council to consider community comment at the next available council meeting if submissions are received. If no submissions are received, that the General Manager proceed with the renaming of the Civic Ballroom.
So, Councillor Goodwin, are you happy to move that? What's on in front of us?
Yeah, I'm happy to move that.
You're happy to move what Councillor Marnie's just written out, and you're
Yes.
seconding that, Councillor Marnie? Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So I'll
Mayor.
come back to the mover, which is Councillor Goodwin, if you'd like to speak to that, please.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. No more needs to be said about the life of Barry Rushworth and his contributions to this community. His record speaks for itself. His legacy is woven into the fabric of Lithgow, and it's not just through his sporting achievements, but it's through his lifelong commitment to his town, its people, and its sporting culture. It is time now that we, as a community, honour that legacy by naming the grandstand after him. The legacy of William Bill Ashley remains significant, and we've proposed a fitting tribute in an appropriate location, being the Civic Ballroom. His place in Lithgow's history is secure, and we'll continue to honour him with dignity. We've done our due diligence and searched extensively for his family, and there are no living relatives that we can consult at this point. We've acted responsibly. Yes, Lithgow has produced many outstanding sportsmen and women, all deserving of recognition, but very few of them have returned home, raised their family here, built their reputable businesses here, and continued a lifetime of service to local sport. Barry Rushworth's done all that. He didn't just achieve greatness, he brought it back home and he invested it into his community for decades. Some have suggested honouring him at the Workmen's Club. The club does not sponsor. The club does sponsor football, but at the end of the day, it's a business. It's not the place for a local icon whose legacy belongs to the whole community and not to a single venue. Others have said, let's build a Hall of Fame, and I don't disagree with a sporting Hall of Fame, and I don't disagree with that idea, but let's be honest, a Hall of Fame will not be looked at or built in any time in my lifetime that I believe. It's a concept and not a solution. Tonight we have a real, tangible opportunity to honour a man who gave everything to Lithgow. The town's overwhelmingly shown me support, and this is the most appropriate place to honour Barry Rushworth.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Marnie?
I thank Councillor Goodwin for his work on this particular issue, and appreciate his passion around it as well. I'll talk momentarily to the football, and then I'll move to what I see as some important procedural stuff. As a 9-year-old, I remember watching Barry Rushworth in the Western Division sides. It was probably a one-off event that we're never going to see again, that a regional team moved through the entire Sydney Rugby League sides in a knockout competition, beating beating Manly and Orange in the snow, and then coming down to beat the current premiers or multiple premiers, the Penrith side. And that was a unique piece of history. But I think what Darryl talks to is Barry returned to the bush and resumed his life after a very successful football career. And these sort of settings, and it's something we've got to think about as a council going forward, and maybe with some stronger policy around setting aside these sporting venues to celebrate successful sports people in our town, which there are many. The important thing I feel I need to talk to as well, and councillors have raised this, and I think Councillor Tyson spoke well to this issue in the previous time we considered this, is about when we decide to rename and we move someone's commemorative naming. For me, the only pathway forward, if that occurs, is we must give a commensurate commemorative naming to take its place. And so there's an opportunity in that precinct to recognise the service of William Bill Ashley, who was a councillor here in the early 20th century, early 1900s, and was a mayor twice, and then went on to be a federal senator. He has a strong history of civic duty to our area, so it's important that that's not lost in the history. It's important that modern communities don't rewrite history. So we get an opportunity to go back and celebrate his life as well as celebrating the life of Barry Rushworth. So I remember being told I was a pragmatist when I was 18 and I didn't understand what it was, so I had to go home and read the dictionary because we didn't have Google in those days. But I hope that's an approach I try to take, and with respect to both of these gentlemen and their family, I hope there's an option there that the council see to support that recognises both of these significant people in our history. If we do determine to go down that path, it's important that that proposal goes out on public exhibition for a period of 28 days so the community have an opportunity to consider it and give us their feedback. So that's all I will say on the matter, other than just to reiterate, two very significant gentlemen in the history of Lithgow, and we need to make sure we recognise them in an appropriate commemorative fashion.
Thank you, Councillor Minor. Any further debate? Councillor Tysos?
I've got a question there. What's the era of the Civic Ballroom? When was it built?
We'll need to take that on notice. General Manager, does anybody know? We'll have to take that on notice, Councillor. Councillor, we can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Thank you, I'll put it back on. Thank you, Mayor. I'll be speaking against this. Since the last time I spoke, I had a phone call from a member of the family. Knew nothing about it. Weren't happy about it, from my understanding. And I still go back to what I said before. The fact that you would bump somebody, Bill Ashley, when the grandstand was probably there before the Civic Ballroom or before renovations of the Civic Ballroom. If you want to give something to somebody, then give it to somebody, to a thing that is not already named. If you want to change the Civic Ballroom to the Barry Rushworth Civic Ballroom, then so be it. But you should never, ever bump somebody who received that recognition for that grandstand at that time in history. We're not here to change history, but what we're going to do tonight is change history by bumping somebody. And the fact that we cannot find living relatives does not mean that there are not living relatives. There must be living relatives somewhere down the track for this gentleman. The fact that we can't find them does not mean that they don't exist and that we can just do whatever we want to do. I can't believe that we're going to bump somebody. Are we going to do Marjorie Jackson when she passes? Are we going to do something else later on down the track? This is not the way we should be making public decisions. We need to find something for Barry. That's without any argument whatsoever. But it can't be at the taking it off someone else to give it that. And to rename the Civic Ballroom the Bill Ashley Civic Ballroom, what's the point? What's the point? The reality is the gentleman's passed on, and he had that something named after him as he passed away, and here we are changing it. I just cannot believe in 2026 that we're doing this. And I say on the record that my understanding is that the family is not that necessarily unanimous in regards to what we're doing here. And I think if you're going to do something, you need to get them on board, because some of them aren't real happy about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor, before we move on, I've just got an answer for you. The Civic Ballroom was constructed early 1930s. Yeah. Further debate? Councillor Ring?
Yep, naming facilities is normal. I'm going to echo partly what Councillor Tysus has said. Renaming one that already carries a commemorative name is not normal. Across Australia and within comparable councils and other jurisdictions, an exception requires special justification. To date, no one has clearly stated what the exceptional circumstances are that justify the removal of an existing honour, regardless if it goes to another site. It just has not been justified. The Geographical Names Board on changing established names is that when a change to an existing place name is supported, when it addresses an offensive name or safety concern, or to assign a traditional Aboriginal name for dual naming. Neither applies here. Nor does the evidence support the report's conclusion. Majority report. Majority report rests on an uncontrolled quick poll. The formal survey was 54.5 to 45.5 on 11 responses, 6 to 5. The quick poll did not record email, IP addresses or any other information that would restrict one vote to one person. To me, it has no validity in how we should determine the outcome of this question on this report. We have 11 responses, 6 for, 5 against. I don't believe that we have the social license to withdraw a name and to put it somewhere else. Ethically, I can't support it.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Any further debate? Councillor Statham?
Every now and again at council, there is something quite extraordinary comes up, and you can sit on the fence or you can say what you think. I think tonight has put a new light on the fact that there is a possibility that having the name of the ballroom, as long as it's on the same building, which it's not, but anyway, named Mr. Ashley because I haven't been able to find any information, but I've been told he has 9 children. So there has to be a lot of grandchildren around, still alive, you would think. I accept what Councillor Ticehurst has said and also Councillor Ring. I think that there may be some sort of halfway mark, and in respect to Mr. Rushworth, who's not a young man, I think the family, and I hope what Councillor Ticehurst has said is very relevant, because I wouldn't like to think that some of my family weren't kicking the same ball as I was. So for a big decision like this. So if more information can come through on that, I at this stage think it's more favourable than what I felt last time, because I believe that the Ashley Grandstand is quite a monument, but it's also, it would be not a disgrace to call the ballroom after Mr. Ashley if we could find some sort of link to the family. Like it's I've been through this with the Meadow Flat Hall, and it was only called a community hall with my dad. So it is very important. I wouldn't like it if they took my dad's name off the Meadow Flat Hall, and I'm sure, probably Councillor Goodwin wouldn't like it if they took the name off Goodwin Lane. But there is a rare opportunity to have something special for this particular man in his aging years, because he did put Australia on the map for rugby league. However, I'm still sitting half and half, which is that's truthful. I'm more inclined to vote what Councillor Goodwin suggested tonight and Councillor Marnie. But at the moment, there's a lot of things has to be done. We have to make sure that this word gets out, even in the Sydney Morning Herald. We cannot take the risk until we get the evidence. And those people might be happy for it to be for their dad or grandfather or great-grandfather to go into the Ashley ballroom. I don't see anything wrong with that name. I think I wouldn't have liked it if it was somewhere else completely, but it's on the same ground, and I bet he went to lots of balls for the Workmen's Club and things in that building. But I think at the moment I know it's a drawn-out procedure, but I think we do need to look very carefully at what we're doing. We don't want to be sued, or we don't want any misunderstandings with both sides of families. So I agree much more than I did last month with Councillor Goodwin, but I still think there's a while to go before there's got to be somebody out there that's a relative of Mr. Ashley's.
Thank you, Councillor Statham. Councillor Evangelides?
As I spoke at a previous meeting, I'm not a fan of renaming anything. So I agree with Councillor Ring and Councillor Ticehurst. Although in this particular case, I reckon this is a great compromise. His name is still associated with a location that's probably more suited to him, as Councillor Statham pointed out. And I will support Councillor Goodwin, because this for me is a compromise. Bill Ashley wasn't a sportsman. So it's a win-win for me. So I will be voting to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Evangelides. Any further commentary? Before I give you right a reply, I'm just going to say I will be supporting this. This has been a great compromise. I will acknowledge both Councillor Goodwin and Councillor Marnie. They came together and they worked through to get a compromise. So I want to acknowledge both of you for doing that. I want to hand over to Councillor Goodwin for your right of reply.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Tyson.
Can I just ask the question, what inquiries were made in regards to chasing the relatives of Mr. Ashley? What were the inquiries? Because they're not set out in the papers, but what were the inquiries of how we were looking to find them and how we didn't find them, if I may ask that question?
Sure. So my understanding is the responsible director for this is Director Smith. Can you please respond to Councillor Tyson, or does the General Manager wish to step in? General Manager? I will say, though I understand that Councillor Marnie did do a lot of work in this space, and he spent months trying to find the relatives as well. So, but I'll hand over to the General Manager.
Through you, Mayor. I am aware that staff did search council's records system, and that was really our only internal option of finding records, and particularly we're looking for information on a park that was supposed to have been named after Bill Ashley too, and could find no record of that. So it was Councillor Marnie that did most of the actual ancestry type research.
Ask a question because
Yeah. Yep. It actually says that in the report too, that it was undertaken by Councillor Marnie too, as well as says in the report. Councillor Marnie, you're asking a question?
Yeah, I won't re-debate issues. Yes, he had one daughter, and the question I am leading to it, who had, I think, 5 children. I think there are 9 in the next generation. I think what Councillor Staphen has suggested, and this is the question I'm going to ask, is it probably needs to sit in the Sydney media. So as a point of respect, as part of the public exhibition, rather than go through our standard sort of practices of operating at a local level, I think you're right in that just need to drill into. They spent a lot of their life in Coogee, and both himself and his wife and his daughter are buried in, I think, North Rocks. So the difficulty is getting to the next generation. I couldn't find pathways. I've advised the council I couldn't get any further. I've got a very good understanding of him, his partner, and his daughter. But beyond that, I know the names of the next group. So I'd agree with Councillor Staphen. It's a Sydney-based. Maybe put some media out there to see if we can find a little bit more. So the question was very long way round to it, but yeah, as part of the process, can we ask that be put out into the Sydney media?
General Manager, can that be? Yes, that's a possibility.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Councillor Goodwin, right of reply.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. Over the last couple of months, this has been a very heated and a good debate. I think we've hopefully come to the right conclusion. The town's overwhelmingly shown me that the most appropriate place to honour Barry Rushworth is the grandstand at Tony Licketti Sports Ground. The very ground where he trained, he played, he coached, he supported generations of local athletes. This is the one and only chance we have to recognise him the way the community expects at this site. I've received countless messages of support across every medium. The people of Lithgow are asking for us to do this. So let's get this done. Let's honour Barry Rushworth properly. Let's name the grandstand after him. Give this community the recognition it has asked for and the recognition that he deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. That was the right of reply. I put the motion to you. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried.
Call the division.
So the division has been called. There seems to be bells ringing. Okay. I'll put the motion as a division. So all those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Statham, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Smith, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Coleman. All those against? Councillor Evangelides, will you get 4? 4. And Councillor Evangelides 4. Those against, please raise your hand. Councillor Ring and Councillor Tisus. The matter's been carried. Thank you. We move on.
Can I just ask one question, please, Mayor Coleman?
Yes, ma'am.
So what we've just voted on, there's still going to be some information sought from the family of Mr. Ashley before it's done and dusted?
No, what we voted on was what we put.
That's what I mean. There's an alternate in the same area.
That was part of the motion that you voted on. Okay, we move on to 2.2, which is 2.2, the investment report, July 2026. I understand that Director Browning, you'd wish to speak to it because there needs to be some corrections. Before I let you do that, do I have someone who can move this? Councillor Goodwin, and then Councillor Ring is seconding that. Before I ask you to speak, Councillor Goodwin, I'll hand over to Director Browning, please, if you could.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. Just wanted to identify that today on the website, corrections were made. There was a typographical error in terms of updating subtotals due to a late change that occurred just before the business paper was released. So the internal borrowing that was $3 million is now $3.4 million as a result of putting some funding aside for plant replacement due to an update in the closing balances for June 2026.
Thank you, Director Browning. Councillor Goodwin, I hand over to you as the mover.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. I understand that we're fully compliant. From the report, July is always a cash negative month, and that the $5.7 million surplus payments, including the DRFA roadworks, waste operations, and insurance, explain the temporary internal borrowings. So I'm happy with the report.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Ring.
I've only got one question for you to the administration, and that is in relation to the breach of the council's current investment policy with respect to 77% of investments being in Triple B instead of 50%. What time frame is expected to rectify that issue?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Ring. Director Browning.
You're welcome.
Through you, Mayor Coleman. I'd have to take the exact time frame on notice. It depends on when the term deposits expire. To break those break costs and that would be incurred if we tried to leave the term deposits early. So what we're looking to do is, as they mature, we will then invest in more A-rated banks to bring the portfolio into compliance. I just wanted to highlight that was the result of the change in the policy to align with T Corp prudential borrowing, which will enable us to do T Corp borrowing in the future. So it will progressively take time as those term deposits mature.
So can we have a report come back to the next Finance Committee on it?
Is that a request, Councillor Ring?
It's a request.
Yeah.
I'm happy to put it as an amendment
You
if you
put
want.
it as an amendment. So
Okay, point 4. That a report on the investment portfolio is brought back to the next Finance Committee meeting.
thank you. That just tidies that up. That's okay. Councillor Goodwin, are you happy with that? Yeah. You move a second. Happy with that? Okay, great. Councillor Statham, you had some questions?
Yes. On page 11, the movements in investments for the month of July 2026 were as follows. Down on the second one, plus new investments July 2026, $5,000. What is that for? I know it's only $5,000, but what is that for?
Director Browning, if you could please.
Through you, Mayor Coleman. I believe it's $5 million that you're referring to in terms of the cash movements. Yeah. So they're new term deposits that were entered into. So as each term deposit matures, we look at our cash balances.
You roll it over?
Yes. Well, sometimes we roll them over. Sometimes we invest in new term deposits depending on the best rates available.
All right. Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Statham?
No.
No, you're good. Okay. Any further, Councillor Marnie?
I won't speak long to this. I appreciate the point that Director Browning brought up as far as the correction there. That was something I picked up and spoke to the Director. Thank you for that. And the other point, just to reiterate, Councillor Ring, was that exposure into the Triple B. So, again, appreciate that this detail comes to us, that we can have some clarity over where our position is. Yes, we continue to face some challenging times. We've got a large amount of restricted assets tied up with disaster recovery funding and so on. I have had and also the breakdown of the high value payments are always valuable. The fact that we're in amongst a lot of the noise, we're still getting on with the business of things that we said we would do with the special rate variation, and just noting the replacement of the playground equipment at Federation Park Wang. I know that in Oakey Park there's been some really good stuff done with playgrounds. So whilst the roads are the big issue, we've got to be able to do multiple things at the same time as a local government. So it's good to see our kids are getting that replacement program ticking over. I did have a communication with a landholder around the Siding Road. It's interesting, a lot of land parcels that may again be worth looking at. I know that Councillor Tice has brought forward an issue for us out at Honeysuckle Falls Road. There might be opportunities when looking at some of these repairs, whether there's some opportunities to look at potential land swaps or integration of different lands. So I'll try and bring something back to you, Director Smith, and just to follow up on that if I can. Sorry if I.
So what are you proposing, Councillor Marnie?
Just when we're particularly major intersections that.
Is this infrastructure?
Yeah, no, it's coming out of the. I'm talking to the Lowther siding situation. That there might be opportunities as we go into these major rebuilds and repairs that we look at opportunities to utilise unformed roads and other sections of land that might
Will you be bringing that to an infrastructure committee?
Yes, I'm happy to do that, Mayor, just to rather than sort of fluff around the issue. I'll try and bring something that's a bit more direct.
That'd be lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Is there any further debate on this topic? Councillor Goodwin, you're right of reply.
No, I don't.
You're happy for me to put it? Excellent. I'll put that to you. All those in favour? All those against, declare that carried. We move on to 2.3, which is a late report. Proposed lease to Lithgow
Move it.
Golf Club, and you're moving, Councillor Ring, the
Yes.
recommendation?
No, sorry. I'm moving a minor change to the first point. The rest stay the same.
What's your...
The change to the first point is simply grant preliminary approval to the proposed 5-year lease to Lithgow Golf Club Limited in substantially the form attached, subject to minor corrections and amendments and a final review by Council's legal advisors.
Okay. Do you have a seconder for this? Councillor Goodwin,
Yeah,
did you put your hand up there? Great, thank you. Councillor Ring, would you like to speak to it?
Well, yes, but I'd like to speak to some of the misinformation being spread through the community via Facebook in relation to the golf club. Some of it's ongoing, and I think it needs to be put to bed. Firstly is the asset registration. Asset registration gives the club a separate legal identity. It means the company, not individual members, can own property, sign contracts, employ people, borrow money, and sue or be sued. That's it. The golf club is a public company, limited by guaranteed, operating as a not-for-profit. It is a very common structure for large sporting and community organisations. You get a proper corporate framework and no profits go out to members. So being an ASIC register doesn't make your commercial businesses. ASIC registers all sorts of companies, including not-for-profits. The claim that the ratepayers will be funding $2.5 million over 5 years is just not right. 23-24 cost to maintaining the course, as presented on the 28th of January last year, was $565,500. Of that, $352,000 was depreciation and internal plan hire. Those are legitimate accounting entries, but neither is money going out the door to the golf club. Depreciation is an allocation. Internal plan hire is a charge council pays itself. The principles behind both and how we apply them have real issues, and neither has been properly worked through at the Finance Committee, and I think it needs to be. It also doesn't look at what the club is actually doing. We've all been provided this information. Between 1st of July 25 and March 26, the club paid for $153,000 for works and secured another $38,000 in grants. Those grants are no different to what this council secures, spent on a council asset. That's close to $200,000 they've put into our property in 9 months. This is part of their revised business plan, which was circulated to all councillors, and they are moving towards minimising the cost and burden on council, but it's still a council asset that anyone in this community can use. Council has 1 week of surplus funds. Yeah, that was true at a point in time. Look at tonight's paper. Item 2.2 of the agenda puts that to bed. Council can fund 4.8 months against an OLG benchmark of 3 months from unrestricted cash. That's a good outcome. $9 million of capital projects cut, implying that it's related to the golf club. Absolute rubbish. Those projects weren't funded based on priority. They were nice projects to have, but they weren't a high priority. That is not the same thing as being cut. There was a broader package of savings to deal with cash flow and cost pressures, and no services were affected. Tool and item 5.2 of the June meeting. $3 million deficit. Yep, we have a $3 million deficit. Of that, $2.3 million is increased depreciation. It's a book figure. The other $700,000 is to fund operating business cases, work aimed at cutting future costs, attracting grants, improving assets, and investment decisions. It's about generating income or easing reliance on rates. I fully support the signing of this lease. I believe the board of this club should be congratulated on the work that they have done to transform their business model and to be working actively to be reducing the cost burden on this council. We have a nom later in the night about this sort of issue. Unfortunately, there's very few council assets we have that we know the full cost of. As Councillor Marty says, it comes back to a lack of asset management plans. We generate about $18,500 from Tony Licchetti Sports Ground. I'm sure as hell it costs a lot more than that to maintain that facility. I don't believe this golf club should be penalised. They're part of our community. They do extremely well, and we should support them. They've got 5 years to prove that they can turn their business model around, and I believe they can do it.
Thank you, Councillor and Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you, Mayor Collin. This is a straightforward, compliant and sensible proposal. The club has leased this site since 1981, and as the reports state, the current lease has been in a monthly holdover since August 2023. A situation that benefits no one. A new lease provides stability for the club and clarity for Lithgow Council. The plan of management expressly authorises the lease, and the mandatory 28-day public exhibition will ensure transparency and community input. The 2015 Lithgow Golf Course Plan of Management expressly authorises the provision of a lease. Financially, the arrangement is satisfactory, the rent is appropriate, and the 20% operating profit contribution ensures the club shares responsibility for the course maintenance. Clear maintenance obligations, insurance requirements, and governance meetings reduce the operational and legal risk. So I will be supporting this.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Any further debate? Councillor Statham?
Look, I think our golf club has really shown a great improvement over the last couple of years. I think years ago it may have not been as serious with their business plan as what they are now. I have spoken to some people, as most of the councillors possibly have, and I do believe that they're working very hard to try and sustain people coming and playing golf, and I believe there's lots more ladies playing golf now than there's ever been. And some really good news is there's lots of children and young adults playing golf. I think they've done a lot of work inside. They've spent all that money, and one day I could envisage being upstairs, some accommodation, and it become like a little bit of an oasis and somewhere to get away to. And I'm sure there's plenty of bus drivers would bring Chinese tourists up to see the kangaroos while they're playing golf. But on a really serious note, we don't need to lose another type of industry or sporting field, or it doesn't matter. We are here to try and stay focused and keep the Lithgow Golf Club going. We don't want to see it closed. We can't see it closed when they've shown big improvements, and that's what I think is what's been troubling people for a long time. But I think now they've given reports, and the reports have been very positive, so I have to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Statham. Councillor Tyson, if you could put your microphone on. You're moving an amendment, I think I heard.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd move an amendment if I may.
Yes, what would you like to move?
I'll pass it up to the Secretary. Hopefully she'll be able to put it up, but I'll read it out. Recommendation is that council with respect to any future lease of the Lithgow Golf Club and house and course, undertake a public tender expressions of interest process for a longer term as prescribed under the Local Government Act, and 2, council undertake any public tender process as set out in 1 under the current New South Wales Independent Commission Against Corruption ICAC direct negotiations guidelines for managing risk. I'll move that recommendation.
You're moving that amendment, Councillor Tyson. Do you have a seconder?
Can you please repeat that, please, Councillor Tyson?
It's on the screen, Councillor. If there's no seconder, it lapses. So if no one's prepared to second it, then it lapses. It's lapsed, Councillor Tyson. Absolutely. Councillor Tyson, your microphone.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to put on the public record at this webcast some information for not only for the councillors but the council and the community as well. I take you to the last lease that was made in 24th of May 21, where in a report by Sandra Politi, the Land Use and Property Officer, indicated that in her report in regards to the lease, where it was for 2 years and it's now been 5 years, running on a 3-year extension, she said council expends a substantial sum each year towards maintenance of the golf course, which is proving to be unsustainable and warrants review and consideration. In my opinion, that is what we've seen before us today is exactly the same situation. It is still unsustainable and warrants review and consideration. I refer to the ordinary meeting of council on the 27th of March 23, in which case there was a late report in regards to the sale of land in Barton Avenue, Wallerawang. It was a report by Ross Gurney, who's now the General Manager, who was the Chief Financial Information Officer then. He indicated on the third part of his thing, under today's practices for the sale of operational land.
Point of order, relevance to discussion.
It's
This is
not
not about
relevant.
the sale of land, this is about a lease.
This is
If I may, Mayor, this is talking about a lease, which is nothing different to
Barton
a
Street
sale
has
of land.
nothing to do with the lease, Councillor
It
Tyson.
does.
No,
All right, then I'll take you to a point, Mayor, if I may go back to the ICAC direct negotiations guidelines for managing risk, and it indicates on page 6, it regards to the disposal of properties. Under that heading, it says this can refer to more than just disposal of surplus goods or property. Agencies can also dispose of intangible assets such as intellectual property, leases, airspace, management rights, and advertising space. So this lease is nothing more than a contract. It's a disposal to say, there it is, it's yours for 5 years, and this is what we're doing. So to me, it is the same thing as the land, and if I can read the passage, then you'll hear what General Manager Mr. Gurney indicated, because we're talking about doing this lease under the direct negotiations because we have one party. And if I can take you back to the ICAC direct negotiations, it talks about on page 19, agreeing on the price and executing the agreement. Once the negotiation phase is complete and successful, the agency needs to finalise a formal agreement with the counterparty, usually in the form of a contract. A contract is a lease. The Commission often receives complaints about directly negotiated transactions that allegedly confer significant financial benefits on the counterparty. Now, you need to address budget issues such as developing cost benchmarks and setting cost upper limits. This often involves complaints about leases and tenancies, land sales and grants, as well as more routine procurement activities. Before signing any contract, the agency should satisfy itself that the consideration to be paid is consistent with its original budget, estimate or valuation. Where an agency can demonstrate that attempts have been made to secure reasonable value for money, despite the apparent absence of competition, it can be more easily counter perceptions of alleged corruption. Now, the thing is, nowhere in this report tonight, and I have a look at page 7 under financial, there will be minimal costs associated with the public exhibition process mandated under legislation. Should there be no public submissions and the lease is enacted, councils engage property managers will manage the lease implementation, management and associated costs, which will be deducted from the annual lease payment. There's nothing in here in regards to anything whatsoever as to what this is going to cost over the 5 years. You can't deny $2.5 million based on our previous figures of the financial years 23-24 and 24-25. Collectively, they're $1 million. The 5 years must have been close to 2.5. CPI and everything included, it's going to be horrendous. The ratepayers aren't happy. You're going to give them this is a blank cheque with a lease. It's got no definite financial figure whatsoever. Here we are, we're broke. We've mentioned we're broke. Every time we come up and look for something, we've got no money. If you want anything, you've got to find the money yourself as a councillor. You've got to be kidding to give this a blank cheque, because that's what you're doing. You can't vote for this tonight. This has got to go back and follow the direct negotiations under the ICAC guidelines. They're there for a reason. And the other thing that absolutely astounds me, February last year, galleries packed, not even anybody coming in from the golf club to ask to put it forward. Not one representation, nothing in the public gallery tonight. They're all scared because they know what the ratepayers are thinking. They're not prepared to give up a blank cheque to a public company for a golf course. This has got to go back under that recommendation that's now elapsed in regards to getting either a 10-year or a 25-year lease so that whoever takes it over can do something with it at no expense to this council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tysos. I'll hand it further. Any further debate on this matter? Right of reply, Councillor Ring.
Thank you. This is not a blank canvas. There are checks and balances on it. And as I said earlier, the $2.5 million, most of that is paper money. There are hairs all over internal plan hire and depreciation and the way it is done. Is there a market out there for people hiring golf courses or wanting golf? No. This club has done wonderful work over the last few years. Well, I will agree with Councillor Tyson, this lease shouldn't have dragged on this long. But this council has had problems with staffing and staffing issues, and that's been compounding it. I don't believe there's anything illegal or wrong with this, nor do I believe there's this major angst out in the community, except for that which is being deliberately stirred up by the spread of misinformation, which really gives me the... But at the end of the day, I think we act in good faith. And as much as I like the Aquatic Centre, we're losing $500,000 a year at the Aquatic Centre. We're going to put that up for lease. Or we're going to put Tony Licchetti Sports Ground up for lease. We have to have some hard discussions, but this is not impacting our budget at the moment. It's not one of the driving factors. We have many other driving factors. We need to get this done and dusted and off our plate and focus on real issues.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. That's the right of reply. I put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. A division has been called. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Statham, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Evangelides, Councillor Ring, Councillor Smith, Councillor Marnie, Councillor Coleman. All those against? Councillor Tysos, the matter's been carried. Thank you. We move on to 3.3, which are the Finance Committee meeting minutes. I understand, Councillor Ring, you express an interest in this. Are you happy to move them?
Yes, I'm happy to move.
Thank you. I need a second. And Councillor Marnie is seconding them. Councillor Ring, if you could, please.
There are a lot of important recommendations moved at the Finance Committee. I was thinking about pulling them all out and giving them to our trustworthy minute taker for the way it's written, it covers off reasonably well. So I'll speak to it instead. Basically, the recommendations that were moved were designed to enhance councillor oversight and transparency of our financial management. Developing a capital works report format to be tabled monthly. More detailed reporting on the SRV program and the quarterly budget reviews. The lack of information we've been getting is a matter that causes concern in the community, because we went out and we hit them with a large rate increase, but we're not telling them what we've actually done. Very broad statements about where the money's gone isn't good enough. They want to know what's been done, where the money's going. Reinstatement of a management action tracking report on implementation of the audit management letter each quarter. When I was first on council, when the general manager started, this was done on a regular basis. We're often given updates. This is done through the ARIC committee. That information isn't shared to all councillors. but I think we should see that information. That will be done each quarter in line with the ARIC meetings. A monthly Walgan Gap Road report inclusive of approval, expenditure, claims lodged, claims paid, forecast completion and resourcing requirements. Project managers involved with this project should be able to pull this information out quite easily. This is a massive project we should not be managing. We need to make sure we've got clear oversight of it and the finances involved. That the format of the operating grants register is applied to the capital grant summary and natural disaster summaries and are resubmitted at the September Finance Committee. Getting the grants register into one format, which is readily available with clear information, which tells us why things have been done, why they haven't been done, is really important. Having documents that say something's completed, but you still got 100,000 in commitments, sorry, that's not completed. So we're fixing up those problems. And that the director people in places submit a business case to the Finance Committee for the introduction of proposed discretionary fee increases relating to the development proposal. They might have been new fees, but they're discretionary. If they're legislated fees, I have no problem with them. If they go up, they go up. That's the way it is. If it's discretionary, then we, as a governing body, we make the determination. Some of these reports tabled at ARIC, generally not available to all councillors, so no additional work is required by the administration, but I believe it will enhance the governance role of the Finance Committee, which is really important. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Marnie?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Ring. I'll reiterate a couple of things there. I think when the SRV was brought in, for those councillors who were part of it, there was a distinct desire from the councillors to enter into a contract with the community which said we would come back and talk to you about how we're spending the money. So what Councillor Ring has raised is an important one, that we reset that focus. Also note that we've increased the frequency of a number of key oversight committees, and I'm conscious of the workload that then presents to staff. I'd like to acknowledge here publicly that we get a lot of detail and a lot of the issues we're asking for are coming back. I thought there was a good compromise there with the grant register, that we align it with the reporting that goes into the ARIC committee wherever we can. Aligning those reporting saves a second body of work for staff. We as councillors, I know the workload I generate for staff. I can't see everyone else's, but I can imagine that there's significant amounts there. The directors are charged with delivering on some very big outcomes for us with their teams, and we need to make sure, whilst we make sure we've got proper frequency from a governance point of view, that we don't create workloads that are undeliverable or cause unnecessary diversion away from their other business, which is important. The grants register, people would be clear on my views on that. We talked about this going out of the last term. I know Councillor Ring was also very firm about this. It's critical we've got it in place. It brings us visibility of the grants, and we lose the risks associated with grants sitting in individual officers' files and not having the visibility across the organisation. And this is pretty dry stuff, and my apologies, and I'll get out of this rabbit hole in a minute. Introduction of things like Pulse and project management gives us better governance. So I appreciate the councillors who have put the time into really trying to make these systems work and to have them in play. It also, the other thing with the grant register is make sure that if there's co-contributions being lined up, which in plain English is just the officer putting in the grant is promising cash from our budgets as a co-contribution, we need to make sure that that's available and that we're not being taken on a direction that isn't what our core business and outcomes are at the moment. So a lot of very good information comes out of the committee. And again, I just thank the staff for their work on that.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Any further debate? Councillor Statham?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to know if we have engaged a grants register writer, because I think it's absolutely essential. Your staff are very busy. They wear a couple of hats, and I think years ago when we had a grant writer from down the mountains, she was absolutely wonderful, and mostly everything that she put in for we were very successful with. I think it's part of our, it's your bread and butter, and we can't do without it. So I hope the answer is yes.
I'm not quite sure who can answer that. Can Director Browning or the General Manager, even Director Elwood could even answer that. But we'll start with Director Browning and we'll come across.
Through you, Mayor Coleman, we don't have a dedicated grant writer.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Sorry.
We don't have a dedicated grant writer. So what we do is the subject matter experts do identify grant funding opportunities and then put them forward. So quite often the grant writer needs to have expert knowledge on the policies, plans of management and the topic itself that the grant aligns to. And at the moment our resourcing wouldn't be able to accommodate a full-time grant writer.
General Manager, would you like to contribute as well?
Through you, Mayor. Just to add, for critical, particularly high-value grant applications, we do from time to time engage an external person to prepare those grants.
To Elwood, do you have anything? Right, very good. Any further debate? Councillor Ring, right of reply?
No, just put it, please.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against, declare that carried. We move on to 3.4, Sports Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Goodwin, you're moving them. Sorry, I sound like a cow there. And Councillor Marnie, you're seconding them. Okay, Councillor Goodwin, would you like to speak to us?
Thanks, Mayor Coleman. I was unable to chair the meeting due to work commitments, and I'd like to thank Councillor Mahoney for chairing the meeting for me. Thank you very much. An important process of this meeting is allocating sports sponsorships to deserving recipients. This is a straightforward and well justified request, but Lyndall Peaches has earned her selection to represent New South Wales in the All Schools National Championships, proudly carrying Lithgow's name into the Melbourne stage. We have an approved budget of $2,500. None of it's been spent or used this year, and we're looking at contributing $300 to directly support her achievements at the highest level. Our community expects this and expects us to back our emerging talents, and this is exactly what the budget's for, so I'm supporting this $300 assistance through the Sports Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Marnie?
Thank you, Mayor. And we're always looking for systems improvement. One of the things that this committee has taken on is an action register. I've got to make sure I've got the same energy to compliment as I do to criticise, so I've got to step in and talk on behalf of the staff. We're actually seeing that action register reducing, which is always a positive, and I do compliment David and his staff, Trish, for the work they do. The groups come to the advisory committee when they raise issues they would like to see in action. So it was really pleasing to see that in play the last meeting. The register and also a bit of work that Caitlin's done in just checking any other outstanding items uncovered another naming issue that's been sitting there for some time. So we need to work on fixing these things up. But Bunny Abbott, and we're back in the world of rugby league again, there was a recommendation that the scoreboard be named the Bunny Abbott scoreboard. And that moved through the system some time ago. It's fallen off the radar. So I think we need to come back and have a look at some of these long-term issues. Bunny Abbott was a footballer who played for St George in the 30s. He was involved, I think, with the factory club here, moved to Lithgow, and he, as a elder gentleman. He did the scores in junior football all the time. I'm a mad East fan, and the history of East bring forward Dave Brown, who was one of the highest point scorers and one of the greatest centres. It was a great privilege to be able to sit down and talk to Bunny about playing against Dave Brown, and so he's a man who's got a great history in the game. So again, it's that thing of just making sure we don't lose sight of the actions that we recorded in our committees. So again, I extend my thanks to the staff for doing that bit of backgrounding and making sure we've got the register up to date. So that might need maybe, I don't know how to deal with a stale issue that's got lost, but I might ask that question through you, Mayor, to the General Manager on how we deal, whether staff can look for a resolution in the past on that matter.
So is it on the, can I just ask a question before we
Yeah,
pass
sure.
it? Is it on the action register?
I believe it is now. So I just need to confirm that with the staff.
So General Manager, can we follow that through? Yeah, so he'll follow that through. If
Okay.
it's on the action register,
Okay.
then it should be followed through.
Yeah. So a really good improvement, which is seeing results, and the people who are receiving the works are obviously very happy about it. So thank you.
Any further debate on this topic? Councillor Goodwin, right or reply? You're right.
I just put the motion.
Thank you. I'll put that to you. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. We move on to questions with notice. Councillor Tysos, I noticed that you've got a question there regarding the golf club on page 22. Nothing but thank you. Yep, excellent. Councillor Fredericks has the next two, but she's not actually here. Unless anybody else has got any questions regarding her questions, we'll move on.
Mayor,
You do?
I do.
On which one?
Item 4.2.
Okay, so the council-owned buildings.
Now, this isn't a question with notice, so I'm happy for it to be dealt
So
with
what's
that.
your question, Councillor Money?
Okay. The question is, what is the timing for the building asset management plan? Because again, this is the issue with question with notice. You can't actually context what you're talking to, but anyway, I'll let it go through.
So 4.2, you're asking a question
Yep.
regarding the asset management plan.
Yep.
We'll take that on notice if you're happy with that.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
4.3 is also a question on notice from Councillor Fredericks. She's not here, but it's been asked and answered. Councillor Tysos, you also have one on page 28, 4.4, which has been asked. You've got nothing further? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Councillor Tysos.
I've got a question, please, Mayor.
On which one?
Item 4.4.
Yeah, on page 28, the Lithgow Women's Shed. What would you like to ask?
Could we have a breakdown on the proposed stormwater mitigation management works brought to the infrastructure committee for discussion?
That's not a question, that's a request, but that's fine. We can take that on.
Okay.
Or
I thought
can you
I had
answer
a
it?
question mark at the end.
Through Mayor Coleman, we're still working with a consultant on a revised stormwater management plan for it. So it'll be best to wait for that to come back so we can put the two different versions to the committee.
Does that make sense, Councillor?
It makes a lot of sense, but I might bring a notice of motion back to the next meeting, and
Yep.
then we can actually have some resolutions of the council on issues.
That'd be great. Thank
Okay.
you.
I won't worry about asking the other question. I'll leave that.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Notice of motion. Councillor Marnie, community sport, its affordability and its role in wellbeing and community capacity building. If you'd like to speak to your motion, and is there a seconder? Councillor Smith seconding that. All right. Thank you, Councillor Marnie. If you'd like to speak to it now.
I'll finish speaking to a theme that seems to be the sporting life at council tonight, but I'll put my hand up. I was one of the councillors that voted for the SRB. It increased rates for the average household by 27.7. It increased the rates overall by 44.5, I think, from memory. It was a significant impact on costs to people. I was very clear, and I spoke to this in council meetings, about looking at affordability, capacity to pay, and so on. I would like to start looking at some material pathways to dealing with this. And one of the, because we're already contributing as ratepayers into these sporting grounds, I don't think I've ever spoken to a sporting association or a group who don't believe they should pay fees, except for the juniors, which this council over a long time, and I applaud councils before me for doing this and encouraging participation in sport. I don't believe there's a desire out there not to pay any fees, but to make sure the fees are commensurate with the capacity to pay from the not-for-profit organisation. So what I'm proposing, without numbers attached, is that we look at upper caps, except in the case of leases, where we've got exclusive use of a open space sporting facility, that we look at making sure that we've addressed capacity to pay issues, and we don't end up with a situation where, obviously in one code I'm interested in, when I turned up to town 25 years ago, there was 1, 2, 3, 4 teams plus a rugby union team playing across our 3 grounds. 2 of the grounds in Portland and Wallerawang are empty to seniors, and one of the senior sides no longer exists. The rugby union side no longer exists. I don't want to characterise it that it's because council's fee charges are too high, that's why those, but they have to look at how they transfer their costs. As a practice, if I bring something in front of the council, my view is to put it back into the relevant committees, and that the work is done in those committees to come back to council with a solid position. So what I'm asking tonight from the council is that they consider this notice of motion, and that the review process be referred to the Finance Committee, Sports Advisory Committee and Community Development Committee. Some of them will play a small amount of role in it, but one of the key points for and it wasn't any deal or whatever, but one of my key concerns with the SRV, that we maximise expenditure back into the community activities to ensure that they weren't impacted excessively by the rate increase. So
Councillor Money, if you could actually read out your recommendation for those who are watching, that'd be lovely.
Okay, thank you. That a review be undertaking of community affordability issues relating to participation in community sport, with particular consideration given to the introduction of a cap on fees and charges applying to community sporting clubs and not-for-profit organisations. The review, point 2, the review process be referred to the Finance Committee, Sports Advisory and Community Development Committee for consideration within their respective areas of responsibility. Following their reviews, the relevant committees provide recommendations to the council for consideration and adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Money, and that's appreciated. Councillor Smith, you second this, please, if you'd like to speak.
Yeah, look, I support Eric on this because over the years, and well, I've particularly been involved in the fair bit of sport over the years, and I've just seen these sporting teams go down the drain big time. Now, if we can't prop up some of our sport in the town, then what has the town really got? So, if you really look at where we're going now, you walk around all the football fields and the soccer fields and whatever. Some are full, but there's a hell of a lot that aren't. It was suggested at our sports meeting there the other day that, and this come from one of the council guys, basically that there's a lot of assets out there that are not being used that could probably be shelved a bit, that could save money. You could probably then put that money into the sporting groups that are still actually out there, still running around surviving. Now, I went through this years ago with a club, but they do not exist anymore. And we're all the time going back to the council trying to get a bit of a cut on our rates for our power and our rental of the grounds. Now, eventually that team went out and doesn't exist anymore. Now, the way it's heading now, I think we can probably end up seeing more teams go out, which we have seen, and if the rest go out, there'll be some of these sports may not even exist at all. and we'll have an asset sitting down there that won't be doing nothing, because there's a hell of a lot already sitting around down there doing nothing already. If we really looked around and had a good look at some of the cricket fields and things, now I'm not trying to pick on cricket, but most of them are not being used now. Now, whether they've got to be maintained and money spent on them, or should they be just put aside, I don't know. Still maintained in the form of mowing, but not as cricket fields or not as specific sporting areas. So I do support this because we really need to keep our sport active in this town.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there any further debate? I've
Yep.
got Councillor Statham had a microphone on first, and I'll come to Councillor Ring and then Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Statham.
I condone exactly what the last two councillors have spoken about. I come from a very sporting family, and I know what it's like to go to little athletics with my grandchildren, and it's becoming less and less popular, all the sports, because of the money the parents are. It's costing them $100 to go in a race, which is absolutely ludicrous. So I think every council in New South Wales is struggling to get soccer teams, footy teams. Girls hockey seems very popular, but there's a lot of, around Bathurst, I know particularly, and no different to here, there's a lot of people pulling out of sport because of the cost of it. So I think, every council should make our sporting fields look as great as they can, and I'm sure Lithgow does very well at doing that. However, I would hate to see any of them sort of, not used, and the only way we can use them is to keep them right up to date and try and encourage people so that they don't have too much expense to pay before they go out that door of a Saturday morning.
Councillor Ring. Thank you, Councillor Statham.
Last year, Council commissioned the report Lithgow Asset Review and Pricing Policy. It was completed in October 25 and tabled at the infrastructure meeting of the 22nd of January 2025, where it was discussed at length. That pricing review and asset review focused on a number of sporting fields and built assets, halls. From the minutes, it states the presentation was reviewed and discussed in detail with the following minuted. Proposed amendments. Consider an additional fee for events held on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. This is the normal practice for local government. Imposing a cleaning fee if the site is not left clean and tidy, identified as a separate fee. Increase the refundable bond fee charge at a level relative to the facility. Bond is a risk management. Impose a cancellation clause such as a 5-day period. Add new fees for school carnivals. There is no authority to waive fees for such events. We're all over the place in this report where we're charging, what we're not charging for. And these comments don't just relate to sporting fields, but the assets in total that were reviewed. It was noted that by the committee that sporting grounds are a multi-use facility, and I agree with that. And a decision on how many sporting facilities council is able to maintain in the future will need to occur. That was the discussion held at the infrastructure meeting. Now, I support in principle what Councillor Marnie has put up, but I'd like to move an amendment. The work's already being done. There's no need to go out and undertake more studies. We've got it there. I think it's also not appropriate to involve committees that will have memberships that will have a vested financial interest. That is the Sporting Association and the Community Development, which will have not-for-profits. I'd like to propose that the Lithgow Asset Review and Pricing Policy 25 is workshopped at a combined meeting of the Finance and Infrastructure meeting to fully workshop to document and recommend any necessary changes at the most convenient council meeting.
Is there a seconder for that, or are you going to accept that, Councillor Money?
I'm happy to accept that.
Okay, so, and Councillor Smith, are you happy to accept that as a seconder?
Okay.
Right,
But
so
basically, I think, tidies up. It captures the essence of what's being done. The work's being done. If it takes 2 or 3 workshops, I don't really care. Let's get it right. Let's understand what we've got and what the issues are. And as has been stated a number of times with Councillor Marty tonight, without asset management plans, we're flying blind with a lot of this. Football, there's a number of other groups that use the showgrounds. What are they paying? We need to see the overall picture so we can understand what's going on. Some of the new fees have been introduced this year already, but we need to look at it and consider it in its totality and make relevant recommendations for change or adoption back to council.
Thank you, Councillor Ring. Councillor Goodwin.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. Also thank Councillor Mahoney for bringing this motion forward. Community sport is one of our most powerful drivers of health, connection and resilience in the Lithgow area. Our clubs are under real financial pressure and affordability is now a barrier to participation. Council can't solve every cost of living issue, but we can review the fees and the charges that we directly control, and introducing a cap for community sporting clubs and non-for-profit is probably practical. A targeted lever that strengthens participation, protects social networks and invests in healthier, more connected and more resilient communities. And I support Councillor Mahoney's motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goodwin. Councillor Tysos.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Alternatively, the kids can play golf. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tysos. Any further commentary or debate? Right, a reply, Councillor Mahoney.
You got the amendment up yet?
Is it up? Yeah, they're both combined and up. It's number 2. It's been absorbed into the motion. Yep, you're good. Okay, thank you, Councillor Mahoney. Right, a reply.
Interestingly enough, lots of people play lots of sports. Lots of footballers are playing golf as well. People might know I have an interest in sports photography. I'm photographing a young woman playing hockey, running up and down, putting kilometres in. The next day she's running kilometres on the football field. So it's not uncommon for our community members to maintain their fitness across a whole lot of codes. I just wanted to reply to a couple of things that came up. Understand a lot of the issues around events and halls and some of that conditional points that Councillor Ring raised. I won't debate them. I accept what you've said there. Wavering is the most, in my mind, the most unreliable and potentially unequal process because it'll be determined by different people at different points. I'd like to get some clear policy around it that a little bit like in the lease, one of the things with the golf course is both parties have an understanding of the operating environment and they can match their business model, I'll call it, for the sporting clubs, playing on our fields to match the business inputs, which are the fees. So the other key thing to take away and consider is where people get hit the hardest is in the middle of winter for senior teams that can't start training until it's dark. As soon as they hit that switch and put the light on, the money's just ticking over at a rapid pace. And that's where everyone's getting burnt. It's the power charge. It's not the ground fees, they're reasonable. But once those lights are turned on, the money's just siphoning out of the organisation at a rapid rate of knots. The challenge for us as a council is there any other way that we can look at storing energy and possibly running those lights? I don't want to make a expert comment here, so this is a challenge for us is how do we reduce the power bill for us and the sporting group, because that's where it's starting to unravel. So just keep that in mind. The summer sports less so, but I'm not going to say it's not an impact, but obviously with daylight savings there's opportunities to train under natural lights, and so that's a big challenge for us. I note in the women's shed there was discussion about a community battery to help absorb some of the power costs, and Energy Australia put their hands up. We've looked like, I think from memory, a $47,000 approach. Do we look at solar panels in that area? Do we look at battery storage? Do we look at sharing that power with the basketball, with the civic ballroom, with the sports clubs? So as we go forward, we've got to imagine opportunities rather than just identify the problem. Problem identifiers there's no more vacancies. We've got plenty. Everyone's telling us what's wrong. We need some people who can think about solutions and possibly some new ways going forward. So I accept the amendment that Councillor Rings brought. I think that those two committees can do a lot of the heavy lifting and probably in turn report back to those other committees in a more clearer way at the conclusion of the process.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. That's the right reply. I'll put that to you. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Thank you. We move on to business of great urgency. Does anybody have anything?
I do have questions without notice.
They can be handed up if you like, and they can answer.
No, I'd like to discuss it. Thank you.
You have to put them. If it's urgent, it's urgent. Councillor Statham.
No, I don't want it to come in under urgent. Sorry, I'll wait till anybody's responded if there's business of great urgency.
Right, so we're in business of great urgency. So if you don't have any business of great urgency, I'll move on. Councillor Goodwin, did you have anything?
I've just been asked by, I'll put it to the council, but I've been asked by a community member to ask in relation to Centennial Coal and not putting on any apprentices next year, which means that there's going to be no apprentices for the 27 financial year.
So you would.
And so my question is that it's going to have flow-on effects to TAFE, to retaining the young people in the area.
Okay.
The motion would be just to contact Centennial Coal to so we get an understanding as why they're not putting on apprentices and traineeships.
Okay, so council is putting that forward as business of great urgency. It's up to the council to determine whether that's.
Point of order, Mayor. I've got a declaration of interest in it.
Oh, okay. So you've got a declaration of interest, and okay. Well, I don't think it's urgent either, Councillor Goodwin, but we can investigate it for you. But it's not up to me; it's up to the council. So there's a motion on the floor. It's up to the council to determine whether it's urgent or not. So I'm going to put it to you. All those in favour if it's urgent? 5. You got your 5 votes, so it's classified as urgent. Okay. So what would you like to do?
If council could contact Centennial Coal and maybe ask them why they're not putting on apprentices or.
Yep. So you're moving that?
Yep.
I need a seconder for that.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Statham. So if you're happy to move that, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Statham's happy to second. And you would like the council to contact Centennial and find out if that's correct or not. Is that correct?
Essentially, yes.
Yep, no problem. I'll put that to you. All those in favour? I can't hear you. You haven't got your mic.
Apologies. I was thinking we're in confidential, but that council seek clarification from Centennial on their long-term apprentice employment program in the Lithgow area.
Is that better for you, Councillor Goodwin?
Yeah,
is that better for you, Councillor
just put on the spot
Statham? Are
then,
you
yep.
happy for the
No
wording?
problems.
You second it, Councillor Statham. You're happy for the wording? All right. So did the minute taker get that? Wait, can we just wait? Did you want to repeat, please, Councillor Ring? So can you please repeat that?
No, I'm thinking about what I said. That council contact Centennial, or council engage with Centennial Coal seeking clarification on their long-term.
It's on the screen now. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's close enough.
Excellent. I'll put that to you. All those in favour? All those against? Declare that carried. Any further business of great urgency? No? Thank you, councillors. I just need to ask the public gallery, we need to go into closed council.
Before closed council, could I please have some questions without notice? It's allowed in every other meeting.
It's not allowed in business of great urgency.
No, I don't want it in business of great urgency.
We don't have questions without notice. You put questions to notice at the next council meeting, Councillor Statham. There's nothing on the agenda that allows you to do that.
Is that right?
Yes. So we now move into closed council. Thank you. Moving into closed council. Councillor Marnie is seconding that. If all those in favour, all those against, declare. Thank you. Welcome back. I'll hand over to the General Manager who will read out the result of closed council.
Thank you, Mayor. On the item of the successful grant application, Council resolved that Council accept funding of up to $323,750 from the New South Wales Government for the successful grant application. Point 2, endorse a council co-contribution of up to $10,000 and approve a total project budget of up to $333,750 with the council contribution funded from the LEAP Special Rate Variation Reserve. Point 3, approve an adjustment to council's 2026-27 operational plan and budget upon execution of the funding agreement to recognise the final grant income, council contribution and project expenditure. Point 4, authorise the General Manager to finalise and execute the funding agreement and associated documents, provided that the final funding amount, scope, liabilities and conditions are consistent with the submitted application and this report. Point 5, require any material changes to the grant amount, council contribution, project scope, delivery time frame or council's financial or legal liabilities to be reported back to council before acceptance. Point 6, note that no project work is to commence until both parties execute the funding agreement. And finally, point 7, note that the grant funds detailed design only and does not commit council to the construction of any proposed works which will be subject to further funding, approvals and separate council budget decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, General Manager. Meeting is now closed. Thank you, councillors. Travel safely home.